Welcome to Derry. Isn't just another horror spinoff. It's a test of whether modern horror can slow down again, whether atmosphere still matters more than jump scares, and whether returning to one of the most terrifying towns in fiction history was a smart move or a lazy one. Because this show doesn't just ask if you're scared, it asks, are you paying attention? So the real question is simple. Is Welcome to Derry horror done right, or proof that some nightmares should have stayed buried?
Are you not entertained?
All right, so that was kind of a loaded intro, but what makes Welcome to Derry work or fail in some people's eyes comes down to one thing: restraint. This season doesn't rush to explain itself, it doesn't overload you with lore, and it doesn't rely on consistent jump scares to keep your attention. Instead, it builds dread the old school way: long silences, uncomfortable framing, background details that feel wrong in a town that just feels just as dangerous as the monster hiding in it. The horror here isn't loud, it's patient, and that's where some people are going to bounce off. If you're expecting nonstop chaos or instant payoff, this show will probably frustrate you. But if you love slow burn tension, creepy paranoia, the horror that trusts audience, Welcome to Derry understands the assignment, baby. It also knows when to pull back. Not every mystery is answered. Not every threat is explained. And that uncertainty is the point. This isn't a nostalgia grab. It's a mood piece. So the question becomes less about scares and all this nonsense that modern horror movies try to make to you. It's more about taste, flavor. Because Welcome to Derry isn't trying to be the scariest show on TV. It's trying to be the most unsettling. And for a lot of horror fans, that's exactly what we've been missing. I do want to make a point, because before we recorded this podcast, I went out of my way to go back to watch the two It movies. Not the one from the 90s, not that, but the one from 2017 and 2019, because I was a little fuzzy on the details. And there's always, in those two movies, it felt like two elements to the movie. It was, Pennywise, the character, and his prey, the kids. But in this show, they kind of bring a third element. It's the character, it's his prey, the kids, but also the adults. The adults always seem like a background character in the movies, especially when I rewatched it. They were not really real factors. But in this show, they made adults and the parents a little bit more of a focal point. And y'all know it, the character, but in this show, there's William, there's Marge, there's Lily, Rich, and Ronnie. Those are the main kids that we follow. Now, some of the adults are General Francis, Dick or Dickie, whatever you want to, call him, Hank,
Ugh.
Ingrid, Charlotte, Rose, and Larry, William's dad. Now, all these characters play a pivotal point in kind of telling the story of Derry. And I just wanted to really start with that, because that's a very important element to the show. It's not about it and his prey. It's his prey, the kids, also his prey, the parents and adults. So I wanted to start with that before I went down kind of my condenses note of the show. So the beginning, episode 1 and 2, Derry feels off long before anything outright terrifying happens. Disappearances and violence are treated as inconveniences, not emergencies. The town chooses comfort over curiosity, and denial becomes the first line of defense. That's the kind of tone for the first two episodes. The middle, episode 3 and 4. Patterns start to emerge. Characters realizes events aren't random, but the town fractures instead of unifying. Some push for truth, others push for control and silence, because that's the safest option and the most convenient option. All right, now the escalation, episode 5 and 6. Authorities step in, making things worse. Information is restricted. Spaces are sealed off. And the focus shifts from protecting people, protecting the town's image. Fear is managed instead of confronted. In the ending, episode 7 and 8. Listen, there's no victory, only understanding. The threat isn't defeated, it's buried. Derry survives by resetting the cycle, proving the horror doesn't end, it waits. Okay, so now that you got a kind of a non-spoiler feel for all the episodes, and we're posing the question, did they get horror done right? A lot of flack is always talked about or always criticized in modern horror, I would say, versus kind of the horror we grew up in the late 90s, even early 90s and early 2000s, or scary movies, horror movies felt scary. It felt horrified. Some people, kids had nightmares when they watched it. And I think I like the direction of this show. I like how they did it. I like the slow burn. I like psychological warfare it had on your mind and the twist and turning. And I thought bringing the adults to be a true factor, a true element in the story was beneficial to that slow burn, to that methodical development of the story. Characters. Some of the characters pissed me off. Some of them were just stupid. Some of them
Oh
irritated
goddamn.
my fucking soul. But I think that was done with intent. I felt like for those characters, you felt like, what the fuck are you thinking? You were supposed to. That was their purpose. And a lot of people know it. I mean, these books has had their highs. Like I said, in the 90s, we had the movie. So the show took a different approach in it, but it also had the responsibility, still tie into the movies, we'll get into that, and still trying to connect dots and do it in a methodical way of also exploring different aspects of it, Pennywise, the character, that they really didn't have time to really delve in the movies. You can only tell so much in a 2-hour movie. And so I thought they really did a good job of exploring background things that in movies you just lost in translations per se. The warfare on the adults, the premise of it and the kids, that's apparent. We know that story. We've seen that before. We've seen it in the movies. We know how that goes. The things that he was doing to adults in this show was the real, like, oh, okay, yeah, so you can get the business too, not just the kids. I'm trying not to go in spoilers, but there's like this guy, he goes more into the mental aspect. That's why I said it's kind of a psychological warfare on the viewer's mind. He goes into the mind of it and really what actually started the whole clown aspects and all that. He kind of dives in that, and he also, it's a scene in the last episode that was
Wait, hold on. You getting into spoiler s?
no, no, no. That's what I'm saying. I'm not trying to spoil, but I'm saying, I mean, the show is out. It's
Okay.
been a week, but I'm just saying there's a scene in the last episode where Dickie and it comes to a pivotal climax point. And I thought the way that Dickie went out of his way, because mind you, there's things throughout the season where he a little bitch sometimes. And I thought, it was a real good, refreshing like bow on his story. He stood 10 toes down. He really was like, nah, bruh. So that's all I'm gonna say on that. I think the adult element brought a lot of refreshing elements to the story, and I thought the show was the perfect place for that, because I don't know if you could have had enough time to do that in a 2-hour movie. The Native Americans are very more prevalent. I did watch the movies. The Native Americans are mentioned in the movies, but they're kind of more in the forefront in the TV show, and we get their whole backstory and all that, and blah 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 blah. So I guess let me just round out my thoughts. If this is the way we're going to get, because mind you, this is season 1. I think we said there's 3 seasons, and they go
Three
further and further
seasons.
back. They go further and further
Mhm.
back in time, and so that's actually pretty goddamn genius, because basically we're getting just backward prequels. And because I didn't realize in it too, he died. So now we're getting all the backstory up until before he died. So I was like, oh, and I couldn't really remember the second one, so that's why I was like, oh, he fucking died. I didn't even remember that while I was watching the TV show. So I think the way they're doing it, it's really genius, and I do like it. And season 1, I didn't have no problem with. Some things piss me off. Listen, about the last episode, I don't like stupid convenient plot points. It was a few of those that kind of pissed me off. I'm like, come on, bruh, like write that in a better way. But maybe that was done with intent. Like, hey, yeah, I do feel like Pennywise, the character, the clown. How do I put this? Because after watching the second It chapter 2, I was like, ugh, like the way they like made him to a little spider at the end. I was like, what the fuck? But the way they showed him in the different forms and the different visuals of him, I thought was genius. I thought that was top tier. No issues with that. The different forms he took on, his because he got many forms. But I thought the forms he took, I was like, whoa, okay, like shit, damn, I like that. All to say that and is that I like the season. I actually am excited for the rest of the 2 seasons. Now if they start trying to do spinoff after spinoff after spinoff, they might lose me. But the concentrated mind and the intent and the setup, I'm okay with this. I do enjoy this horror style more than this little conjuring jump scare ish things. Like I said, I don't really take horror movies these days serious. They are really not up to my standards now. In the same breath, was I scared? No, but I'm not a kid. I know better. But did I feel like the things I saw was gruesome, was kind of horrific? Yes. So I'm okay with how they told the story, the slow pace, the slow burn, setup, and even not answering questions at the end because that's the whole point of the character at that point. Like it's always some underlining question that no one can answer, and they even do it in the closing scenes of the last episode. It's this like, well, we don't really know what's going to happen, but hey, we did our part, we did all we could do, and we survived. So that's always been the status quo with this it franchise. You don't never have your questions answered. So if I had to give a score out of 1 out of 10, well, no, let me not do numbers. Let me do like letters. I'm gonna give this a complete A. Just not no A negative, not no A plus. I felt like this is great. I feel like the tone and the director. I watched some behind the scenes stuff and the reasons why he makes certain choices. I could be okay with now. Like I said, there was some shit in the last episode that pissed me off, and whatever. That's just director's choice. Okay, whatever. Do you, boo boo? But I'm gonna give it an A. I enjoyed it. I would encourage anybody to go watch it if you like the It character or the franchise. I liked it because at the work we had a Christmas party and they was like, "Oh, what are you watching?" I don't know why that's a thing of topic of discussion now. What are you watching and where are you watching it on? And I was like, "Oh, the Welcome to Derry on HBO is really good. You should watch it." And they was like, "Oh, I didn't even know it was out or that existed." So yeah, I'm gonna give this an A. I liked it. I have no issues. Yeah, it was a few characters I didn't like. There's a few scenes that I didn't enjoy, and that's okay. It's part of it. Not everything is gonna be 100% good. But Welcome to Derry season 1, chef's kiss. I'm gonna give it the chef's kiss label. What about you?
So before I go, a little caveat. I went to film school and I look at TV, films, everything very subjectively and very different than the average person. This second, we've already spoken on the first half, episodes 1 through 4, on the previous episode of this podcast. This second half was very, I guess the best word is kind of cliche, very on the nose, maybe playing it safe. In an instance, there were a lot of things that was happening that I literally called out, and within 10 seconds later, it happened. My cousin may not have an issue with things like that. To me, I know why they do it, and it is a part of they just do things in the business. But it was kind of just, to me, a little disappointing because I felt they were doing something very unique and different with it. They went more long-term psychological horror as opposed to the jump scares of predecessors. I did enjoy it. This later half, it came off very plot armory, and certain things were dragged out a little bit too long. I don't want to get into spoilers, even though the show is over. Everybody may not have seen it, but the last 2 episodes in general had certain segments that are drawn on a little bit too long. It's like, hey, come on, let's get this moving. And one thing I told my cousin when we were watching these, and I'll even say now, if you've seen the original and the 2 remake movies, in a sense how these shows will end in a manner of speaking. Like there's just no way around it. You know how they're in because these are all prequels before the movies, so you know what's going on. This show seems to be telling a more deeper narrative. This creature called It. They went very, very deep and methodical into the lore and history of it. And I agree with my cousin. You can tell way more in the show than you can in a 2-hour movie because there were some things I didn't know. They show know how and why it personifies itself as this fucking clown, which was they showed, they did not tell. And that is a very huge mistake done in cinema storytelling. Oh, they tell you so what happened, what went down. We, the audience, don't tell us, show us. HBO has huge confidence in this universe written by Stephen King. Crazy fucked up guy, but I am in love with his work. But I don't want to do spoiler, but there were certain things said and done that hinted at a larger plot point in this show that almost feels like it's there to draw you in. But once it ends, I feel like it will be unresolved because the next season goes back further in time. And it feels like they're meddling with a very tied and true and tiresome plot point that makes everything. I will let the audience see, discover on their own. We asked the question, was this hard done right? Absolutely. Absolutely. The character Dickie, my cousin brings up, that guy is fucked up from his childhood to his adulthood. Textbook fucked upness. You can kind of relate to him and understand why he does what he does, how this ties into this world, this lore, and it was done not flawlessly, splendidly. Yes, it has its little hiccups, but that's all cinema. No matter how original or how unique something starts off, eventually they will kind of fall back on fundamentals, and that's what it seemed like the last two episodes were to me. Great presentation, little naive, especially with the character Major Hanlon and his fucking wife. Very naive and just, why are you doing that? But I get it. But if I had to give a letter grade, I would say I'm even gonna go B plus. And I say that because it started off strong. That very first episode, it hooked me. It hooked me well, and it was very fucked up. That creepy ass family and the little kid spelling everything he says. That hooked me, and it seemed like they were going great. They were going great halftime, and then slowly just a little mishap here, bring it back up, a little mishap here, bring it up. But like I said, they kind of fell back on certain tried and true tropes of cinema. I thought it was I would have liked it to be in 10 episodes, but HBO seems to do the 8 episode thing. I think Netflix is more of a 10 episodes for its own original series. Very, very good. If the 3 seasons of this show pan out as this first one did, I would love to see HBO take more of Stephen King's works and explore them to a deeper, more narrative, or if they'll explore more and deeper into the It universe. Some of you all may not know, there's way more to this character, just this entity, the quote unquote clown. And I do love, if you've watched the original, there are so many callbacks to the lore. If you know, things like that. And of course, like I said, the hint at the end. It was a great show. But my cousin, she gave it a solid A, B plus, because of just the little things at the end. And
How the hell you gonna say you felt like it dragged on there at the end, then say you wish it was 10 episodes?
no, I said certain plot pieces I felt dragged
Yeah,
on.
that's the same
Yeah.
thing I just said. Don't say it differently, and then turn around
Well,
and say you wished it was
I don't,
10 episodes.
hold on. I don't
Well,
mean to
that's
say as in, go ahead, finish your saying.
no. I'm just saying that's very contradicting.
So episode 7, which we said we would not discuss, what we talked about, that little thing right there, that dragged on way too fucking. There was no need for that. And we discussed how we feel when shows or movies have these little segments in it. It's like, okay, we see it, move the fuck along. I guess in a sense, why I say I wish it would 10, I enjoyed, this is gonna sound fucked up, I enjoyed the mind fuckery games it plays, the children versus AMV. In the movies, it was just the kids, and you spoke on this, that they tie more adults into this than just the children. In the movies, it is strictly it and the kids. Adults are just like in this daze haze, this high, if you will, and just don't know nothing. Whereas in this show, not only did he present himself to adults, he spoke to them, terrorized them, ate some of them. I guess the cat and mouse game, I enjoyed and wanted to see more of it. Even so far as the Native American, which even begged the question, where are they in the movies?
They're
What
in the
happened
movie
to
though.
them? Yeah,
They're
but
in the
yes,
movie.
granted, they're in the movie. Granted, the prequel is based off and made from the movies in a sense, but I guess to answer your question, the cat and mouse, the more of the fucked up psychological games it played, I enjoyed. The one episode, I can't remember the number, what was the boy? The boy that was missing, when he reappeared, I knew something was up, but I did not know it was going to take the turn that it did, because up until that point, the show followed the rules or presets of the movie. It did not really appear itself like that in broad daylight.
Mhm.
Now, in the movie, it did a few times when they were adults, just to really kind of like, but it really stayed more towards, the dark. That's what humans are so afraid of: the dark, the darkness, the unknown, etc. That from that moment on, it was like, oh, now I'm sure some viewers are like, "What's wrong with you, Infamous? God, this sick bastard!" Hey, I love horror movies. That's my bread and butter. But unfortunately, horror, just like stealth video games, are a niche in modern day times. But not to drag this out and etc. I answered your question, and like I said, going back to what I'm saying, I gave it a B. Due to my,
Ye
in my opinion.
Yeah, I think listen, your complaint or your things that bring it down, at the end of the day, even you said, they are kinda in a plotting frame. They can't go it shit is already said, we already know because 'cause we're going backwards. We already know the ending. And just to let you know, when this season kinda concluded, it concluded in 1988, which is the start of the first movie. You're in like 1988, 1989. So that's what I'm saying. Like the show ends right before the first It movie begins. So they're already in a writing crunch. So I think your point about like, oh, you predicted that, you saw that coming, because well, yeah, we know how the story ends. I really don't know what you wanted them to do. I know there were some things I wish the writer could have done better, told it in a different way, not make it so obvious. So I don't really mark them down for that because they're already in a writing crunch. They already got the ending, so they're really trying to tell the prequel in a way, but we all know how the story ends. And your other point of your frustration and all this other stuff, that is done on purpose. That is the It franchise. Like you kind of do have this frustrating shit that doesn't have a bow on it. It doesn't have a period on it. It's a semicolon. Like okay, there's something that goes here, but we don't know what it is. There's nothing set in stone. It's kind of in this gray area. That is part of the It franchise also. So that's why I'm saying this was kind of done in tune with the franchise and how they do things, but it was done in a lot of ways are different. That's why I still stand on the A, even with you pointing out some of the flaws of it. But I think that is the natural flaw of the It franchise, and it stayed true to that. Going forward with season 2 and season 3, like my cousin said, we've learned a lot of the origins and why he's a clown and what made it prevalent. And then this is not a spoiler because she's in the movies too. The Pennywise's daughter is in the show. And I thought that was done really, really well because in the movie of chapter 2, you saw the picture of Pennywise, as a working in the carnival and all that. It was just glossed over. It was so quick. It was like you really wasn't really paying attention. You didn't even notice. So they really brought the character to life with the daughter and everything that she did up until that point to where she was in the movie. So I thought that was really, really good. Very, very well done also because she's another character that just irritates your fucking soul and you get some
Yeah,
satisfaction with her story
yeah.
at the end. And she does a lot of fucked up shit that costs
Mhm.
a lot of individuals their lives. I'm not going to spoil it. You can watch it, and if you know what I'm talking about. That really, really irritated me. And though I probably would have liked for her to have just been eaten, the Pennywise, well, It character did something to her. She lives because that's not a spoiler. That's in the movies. You see her in chapter 2. It. So I just wanted to point that out too. Like the whole daughter story, the whole backstory with the daughter. I thought that was done really, really, really well. But we're supposed to go more and more back in time in the next season. So I guess let's do a quick hope for season 2. What are some things that you want to see or you're interested in seeing or you hope that they get better with the next season?
The cliffhanger tease, I would like to see where that goes. I would like to see them, I guess, do it again as they keep tugging on that thread. It somewhat opens the door. What is it they're trying to get to? Or is this a signaling of more content, of like another movie, a sequel to the movie that will carry on?
Mm.
in a
Oh,
sense because
yeah. I don't know if I want a movie.
before they gave a little cliffhanger tease, he said something to one of the kids that really, really just befuddled the shit out of her. And she talked about it. They pondered on it when she spoke to her friend, that whatever that little the crazy girl. And it really threw,
Lily.
I guess, yeah, yeah. It threw to me a monkey wrench in it because, like, okay, are you all going to really use that novelty film mechanic? I don't want to say it out loud because, for spoiler reasons. Or is there something that we're missing? Because he explained his quote unquote death in a sense. And I feel that opens the door to the larger scope of the lore for it. But that's one aspect. Two, I would like more grounded, concrete narrative. The little things that we had issues with towards the end, let's skip past that. Other than that, I look forward to seeing how each time period is tackled. This one was more close to modern time. It's not that long ago. You know what I'm saying? The more seasons that go on, the further back it goes. Season one went into a lot of history. A lot of history. If you've only seen the movies, you only know the surface of this creature and its tying to why it's here in this place, in this town of quote unquote Derry. If you watch the show, listen to the Native Americans and the backstory, it's like, oh, ain't that some shit? Oh man, oh, okay. I look forward to them dwelling deep more into etc. You talked about Dickie and the mind game it pulled, and it was really, really kind of word vomiting, like what I am, who I am, etc. I enjoyed that. I like to see more of that in season two.
Yeah, I don't know if we're gonna get another Dickie like character because I think Dickie was
Oh hell
a Dickie was like a isolated once in a generation type of character
no.
with what he could
Oh yeah,
do on a psychological standpoint, but then he was so psychologically fucked up too. So I don't
yes he
think
was.
in the next seasons we're gonna get another Dickie because if they do, then that kind of downplays Dickie and yeah,
It
yeah. But
downplays the
listen,
scope of that type of character.
yeah, but listen, I'm just gonna go ahead and say spoiler alert, because my cousin tiptoe around it, but my point, I just have to tell what it is, so spoiler alert. The point my cousin was talking about, the thing that they said, the creature said to, I think her name is Marge,
Marge.
in one at the end of the episode, he basically said that the future, the present, and the past is he sees it differently than the humans
He
does.
sees
It's
it all
all
the same that he do.
yeah, all the same. And so I thought that was a really interesting thing because and then he on top of that, he said his death was his birth, it's all the same. So I'm thinking like, well, is the motherfucker truly dead then in two? Or is he gonna be born again? What did he it's kinda they can go with that in a different way. So maybe that could lead to another movie. I don't wanna see another movie. I think they need to stick with the seasons just because you can go so deep in it. So when he said that, that kind of like left, and like I said, there's a lot of shit that's left unanswered on purpose because that's just the It franchise.
Mm-hmm.
Not all of your questions are going to be answered. So that really did like bring up an endless possibilities. Like, so what the fuck? And even when he was talking to Mara, she was mentioned her son. And if you don't know, these characters are tied to the movie characters. These turns to some of the parents of the characters that are in the first movie. Well, the kids are the same in the first and the second movie. So it ties directly into the movie. So we're looking at those kids' parents fight the same fucking creature that they fought in the movies. Totally different. I might add you. Yeah, that
Total
line
mind
right.
fuck.
Yeah, that line about how he sees the past, future, and present really is an interesting tidbit, especially when he was like, "Oh, your son causes my death," and I'm like, "Oh, so he saw his death coming. So is his death really a death, or is it a rebirth, a chance for a rebirth?" So all of that's
Mhm.
interesting. That's the shit that is not answered and it's done on purpose. Even in the closing scenes, they're like, "Hey, he said he sees presence and past and future differently than we do. So he's gonna fight somebody else going forward." And Lily was kind of like, she said, "This is the most intelligent Lily ever been in the whole fucking season. She's been a dumb motherfucker all fucking season." But she said, "Say,
Jesus
hey."
Christ.
She was like,
Go
"Hey,
ahead.
we fought him. We did what we did. We put him back to sleep. That'll be for somebody else's fight in the future." And I said, "God damn it, that's the most intelligent this bitch has sounded all season." and that's really true, and that is the essence of the It character. He comes back every 27 years, and this is somebody else's fight. Now, is it kinda tied do you ask the question, does he only really fuck with certain kids
Generations.
because well, not
No.
generations, but certain kids because he was fighting with those parents back in the day? And then that even asks us the questions if this is those kids, most of them are their these are the parents that will be the kids in the movies. Where the fuck are they in the movie? Like if your kids was raised in Derry, that means you're still in Derry. That means you remember. So why aren't you like prepping your
Oh
kid?
man,
Like
I didn't even think of that. That is a great
yeah.
fucking platform.
Yeah,
That is
so
a
that
great
is
platform. But you know what? You just made me think about saying what you just said. The present, future, and past are all the same to it. Archer's son. This is completely tinfoil moment, just brainstorming theory. Every time it goes to sleep in this dimension, our dimension, those 27 years where it's gone here, is it someplace else in another in a sense? Like when he slept his 27 years and he woke up this time and he told Marge what he told her, does he know that because he had already been to another future where that happened, and that's why he explained that to her in a sense? So
mm,
every 27 years when he's gone from here, he's in another timeline, another dimension in a sense, because the lore of the character it is that it is a creature outside the bounds and scopes of our reality.
yeah,
Man,
that
you just
that
really
that's
that was
yeah.
good.
Yeah, but I only thought about it because I watched the movies before we did this episode because even while you were saying shit, I was like, I kind of remember that happening in the movies, but I kind of don't. And the second movie kind of fell by the wayside. It was kind of an afterthought. So I do
Mhm.
remember watching it, but I don't think I was that intrigued. But because they were adults and it was kind of like, when I watched the movies, it did bring up. I was like, oh well, this is William's son. This is Marge's son, and this is I'm like, where the fuck are they in the fucking movie? So that's what I thought. I was like, oh, this is that one girl that's that pops up and that she was like, oh, that's that girl from the first movie. And I was like, oh, when I watched the movie again, I was like, yeah, that is her. So yeah, I'm like, what is happening? Like, why is nobody prepping the next generation? And the Native Americans is just over there knowing the shit gonna happen, letting this motherfucker run rampant because why? They live outside of town. They pretty much is unaffected. They just watch from afar because they say, they're quote unquote picking a lesser evil because it's only affecting this town and therefore they just want to make sure it stays in this town, but blah 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 blah. Yeah, there's a lot of questions that goes unanswered. And so even with season 2 going backwards, they still could be telling shit from the present, future, or past. Like it's not bound to that time period that season is going to be set in. So I thought that was kind of a like, okay, is this something that is going to mean that they're not just going to stay in that time period? They're going to flip and flop, maybe some from the past or some quote 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 on the future. You never know. It's endless possibilities. I'm interested in what this director. I thought the director did a really good job, even with the things I didn't agree with and kind of irritated me in the last episode. I'm cool with. Now, spoiler alert. Well, I already said spoiler alert. There's a scene in the last episode of Richie. He's the Hispanic kid that really takes a L for Marge. I'm not going to tell you how because I'm not going to spoil that for you. But listen, there's a scene. They're in like this frozen lake, right? And the It character is like,
Stop,
I'm about to
stop
go fuck.
skipping.
I'm about to go fuck these kids up. Y'all failed. I'm about to get out this cage. I'm about to run rapid. And then there's this scene where Dickie looks over and he was like, and Larry, the little the major or whatever his name is, he was like, what do you see? And he looked at him, he said, a fucking miracle. And it's Richie Ghost running across the motherfucking ice. And by then, fucking the It character failed and it wasn't running anymore. And it was just looking. And when Richie went past him, I was like, yeah, fuck you. I was yelling at the It character, Pennywise, the clown. I was like, man, fuck you. And Richie pointed up, he stuck that motherfucker the middle finger. I was like, oh, my spirit animal. Yes, Richie, yes. Listen, that was Chef's Kiss, the best part of the fucking finale. That motherfucker pointing that finger up and said, fuck you. And ran over to basically put the bow on that motherfucker's cage again. But shout out to the actor and the kid, Richie, and even for the director to put that in there because it really that scene was just like an embodiment of probably what everybody was feeling at that point. Because the it character got real cocky, real braggadocious, real like yeah, and that motherfucker Richie was like, nope, fuck you, bitch. So I just had to give a special shout out to that scene because that scene was definitely top tier chef's kiss, baby. Shout out to the director for putting that shit in there because the director probably knew what everybody was gonna feel in that moment. Like, yeah, fuck you, you ain't winning. You gonna take your ass back to sleep, bitch. But shout out to you. Oh yes, funny. But yeah, I guess let me ask this to the viewers and we'll wrap this up. Is Welcome to Derry horror done right, or does it slow pace hold it back from being a truly scary story? Let me know in the comments down below how you feel and give your letter grades about the show and all that, and what are your hopes and wishes for season 2. And hey, what's that Richie scene at the end? It for you like it was it for me?
And that's it for this video of Are You Not Entertained podcast. Thanks for hanging out with us. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and hit that bell so you'll never miss our next hot take. Until next time, Are You Not Entertained?